My name is David Wilkins and I teach on the social work course at Cardiff University. I teach on two modules primarily on the social work course. So I teach a developing your skills module in year one and I teach on an advancing your skills module in year two. Both of the modules I teach on are kind of really similar in ethos in that what we want to help you do is develop your person-centered skills so that you can go out into practice, meet with people and make sure that they have a really positive experience of social work. So that means that you can talk to people respectfully, you can talk to people empathically, but also some of those more difficult conversations that social workers have. So when you are worried about a child or you are worried about, let's say, an older person with dementia whose behaviour might be changing, how do you have a really transparent and honest conversation with someone that keeps the person at the centre, that respects their rights, that respects the choices they want to make in life, but whilst also being honest to, actually, I am worried here, I do think there's a risk here that we might need to think about. So what we want to do is take you through the programme step by step, building on the skills you've already got and developing those so you can go out and hopefully feel like at the end of the programme, I feel confident having what can be quite difficult conversations with people at times. My favourite thing about the programme, and there's a risk of this just being a cliche, my favourite thing about the programme are the people on it. So that's my colleagues that I work with. I think really fortunate to have a really great and experienced team of tutors and lecturers on the programme that all bring different things, but I think we generally share a kind of vision of what good practice looks like. So I think that makes it quite easy for us to work together. So I think honestly one of my best days of the year is that first day of the programme when the new students arrive. There's that sense of excitement and kind of anticipation about the programme and sort of meeting people, getting to know people a little bit, and there's just a lot of potential in the room, if you like, when we get those new students through the door, and it really gives you that kind of motivation of like, this is why I come to work, is to help people who want to go out and make a difference. So yeah, best thing about the programme is easily the people. My background in terms of social work practice is in child and family work, so I worked around the areas of kind of child protection and disability, mostly in North London. In England is where I did my sort of practice. I loved being a social worker. I thought it was a really good career to go into, and I'm really excited now to be able to sort of take that on to hopefully train and help educate other social workers. But for me, the things that stand out in terms of my social work career are the times where I think you kind of felt like you made a difference in someone's life, and sometimes that was big things, but more often it was just maybe the small things where you might be able to meet with a dad, for example, who'd never really been involved in social work services about his own children before, and maybe he'd never even been asked to come along to a meeting or something like that, and you felt like you'd do so much work just to get that meeting. And for the social worker, for me, you think this is an everyday thing, like I have meetings with people all the time, but actually for that dad to be asked, what do you think your kids need? What do you bring to this family as a dad? What's important to you? That might be the only time that person had that conversation, and yeah, so I think that those sort of little moments where you just felt you connected with people, and then they would go on and live, hopefully the rest of their lives without having a social worker involved, but just for that moment you were sort of part of that story, and the sort of connections that you would form with people, was really, gave you a lot of kind of, it was a privilege really, and a really sort of rewarding aspect of the job. I think the future of social work is unknown, and will come in the course of time, as we see sort of what develops. I think the future of social work is in a really good place. I think that lots of people talking about AI and the impact of large language models and all this sort of stuff on work, and there might well be a role for those tools in social work. I think there probably is a role for those tools in social work. But what you really need to do social work is wise, humane people who care about other people. And AI is going to be fantastic in all sorts of ways, for maybe for analysis or for assessments or certainly for note-taking in meetings. AI is never going to care about someone. AI is never going to be wise in the way that people can be. Not that they always are wise, but in the way that people can be when we're at our best. So I think the future of social work is secure in that sense, in that we're always going to need social workers to help manage tensions between people's rights and to make difficult decisions sometimes about support and who gets access to limited resources. So I think in some ways there's never been a better time to get into social work because you're going to have a really secure career, would be my guess in terms of employment, but also that social work is never going to be less important than when there are maybe more AI machines and tools and things taking over sort of other jobs. That makes it more important that we have wise, humane people in the right place to make a difference to people. So yeah, maybe there's always been a good time to be a social worker, but this is certainly not a bad time.